preparing the stream.
Yeah, while you're doing the intro, I'll yeah.
All right, here we are. We are live on the interwebs. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking some time to join us here today. My name is Randy Carroll. I'm the strategic partner and channel manager of Chime. We're here with Scott Solari of Real Synch. Scott, what's your official title?
Head of sales and marketing, but I kind of made that up. But yeah, that's my official title.
my title does actually sound made up, so it's trust me, you're good. Today, what we're going to talk about is the importance of data integrity, and we're going to dispel the myth of the all-in-one solution. When I got started in the real estate tech space over 5 years now, I worked for a company, and our goal was to be the all-in-one, the everything to everybody. You got your leads, your website, your CRM, your drip campaigns, your transaction management, your email marketing, all of these things built into one solution. And we thought that this was attainable. Well, fast forward 5 years and there is no all-in-one solution, right? Scott's going to share some interesting stats with us on the number of pieces of technology people use, but ultimately, this real estate space that we're in, the technology has come so far so fast that different services have splintered out, and there are a lot of niche services that provide some really valuable service that will help you grow your real estate business. But if one company tried to do all of these things, they would do them rather poorly, right? So we have this specialization that's occurred. That being said, with this specialization, there largely has been a lack of communication between the various services. So it's very important that we find a bridge for that. And what Real Synch brings to the table is the actual ability to have those services that were otherwise disconnected become connected and maintain data integrity. So with all of that, I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let Scott start. Thanks so much for joining us today, Scott.
No problem, Randy. I'm happy to be here and excited to speak to some of your users and excited about things to come between us. And yeah, so jumping back when you mentioned the applications, with what we've found based on our users and the amount of teams we work with is that on average, real estate agents or teams use about 13 different applications, wow, which is a lot. And we're probably talking some Google stuff in there, maybe some different Google apps or whatever when you add up the 13, but still, it's a lot of different things and a lot of different places to be jumping around. And if you don't have integration and you don't have automation with those applications, and you're going to be hiring staff or your admin are going to be spending a lot of time going from system to system, updating and adding in the same data over and over and over again. And when we talk about data integrity, well, that's where you start to get errors, right? Because you miss things, you forget things, you have to add the same thing to 3 or 4 different systems. Well, eventually, just naturally with human error, there's going to be mistakes, there's going to be things forgotten, and you're not going to have, and then obviously that creates a chain effect, and eventually it starts to affect the numbers and the production from you and your team. Right.
Yeah, absolutely does. It's called human error for a reason. Right. A computer isn't going to mistake an uppercase L or an uppercase I with a lowercase L, right?
Right.
That's not going to happen. And I use that example because I've done that.
Yeah. So what?
Just be totally transparent.
Right. And and this is something that affects all teams, all brokers, all systems. Is data in is, if it's accurate data, then you're getting good data. If it's inaccurate, then you're getting bad data. So the best way is to make sure that when if you're using Chime, that ideally Chime connects and automates to a lot of different systems. And that's how you start to create your all-in-one, because it's it's impossible to keep up with new tech. There's so many new applications and companies coming out that people want to use. And it's unrealistic to think that Chime can do all those things and any other system can. It's unrealistic because of the cost, and it's not effective. And as Chime continues to grow, you know what you're good at, you know what your roadmap is for development to continue to be great at certain things for your customers, and then allow these bridges or connections to take some of the other apps and start to kind of create this all-in-one system. And it pumps or goes bi-directionally from Chime into these other apps, right? And you're getting all that real-time data in Chime, and then Chime's your hub. That's where you live, and you don't have to jump into these other applications anymore. You can let the data feed back and forth, right? So one of our great examples is a client of ours connected VoicePad, which it's a a phone call application that generates leads, right? And he connected it to his CRM, and when he did that, his lead flow and his conversion went up by like 400%. And the reason is the agents were going into the VoicePad, making like 1 or 2 calls. If they didn't get a hold of the lead, they were just leaving it there. It was never making its way into the CRM. Yep. And so once she created that automation, it pumped it into the CRM. Everyone was calling them a lot more and starting to get more conversion, right? So that's just one example.
And let me point out another example, actually. This is something that happened relatively recently. And I think it goes to show, or it speaks volumes regarding agent adoption to certain technologies. Facebook for their lead center, they just recently changed that if you don't like interact, or you're not moving pipeline stages or using the lead center, if I'm not mistaken, they're actually going to delete your lead after 90 days. So a lead you paid money to generate using their services, if you're not continuing to use their CRM, their CRM, then they're going to delete that opportunity. And they did that because agents just aren't going in there and using it, right? What they're doing is generating it, making a call or two, like Scott said, and letting it die on the vine. You need to, lead center is not a CRM. Let's just call it what it is, right? So you need to be able to use services like a Real Sync to take the lead from where you generated it on Facebook and put it into your Chime account.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You need to get that data into Chime in real time, and think about from, if you're a team leader and you're watching this, if you have 10 agents on your team, think about their productivity. If they know that you're getting the leads automatically into the system, and they only have to go into one system, and they don't have to be jumping around and scatterbrained all day because they have to go like, oh, I got to go check this app and I got to go check that app. And I have notifications all over the place, and it's chaos on your phone, right? Imagine if they just go to one place into Chime, and then they know that they can focus there. They're going to be much more productive,
It's decision fatigue. If they have to figure out all these different places to go and decide what they have to do, they're going to experience decision fatigue, and their brain activity is scientifically going to slow down. If they know subconsciously, I go into Chime and that's where I get everything, then they're going to act without having to think. And I think we can all say we work better when we're not using our critical thinking ability on which piece of technology I need to log into today.
Absolutely. And it happens to all of us. Happens to me. Some days I catch myself and I'm like, oh my God, I'm jumping all over the place and I have no focus, and I need to get focused on the activity that I'm trying to prioritize. Right. And a lot of times, because I have a million tabs up, so I got to like minimize them on another screen and try to get out of the way. And really for an agent standpoint, you're 100% right. Like knowing if they can prioritize and know that they can go into Chime and like everything's going to be there. It's just going to make them that much more productive for sure.
Yeah. And so let's talk about how Real Sync does this.
Yeah. So I'm more than happy to share my screen real quick.
Let's do it.
And I don't want to bore anyone, right? But but we'll show you real quick. So if you come to realsync.com, we have partners, and you can jump in here, and these are all the different partners that we work with. And you see Chime here coming soon. Very exciting. But yeah, so if you were to go and register, and basically you put in your info, you register with your Google or whatever email you have. Most people have Gmail. You got to put in your billing info. Thank you. But then this page pops up, right? And we call them sync bots. Basically, they're little integration bots that are going to connect to different applications, right? So you hit add one, you come in here and say, well, I want to connect, let's say, voice pad to a Boomtown. I hate to use one of your competitors, but we're connected right now. But that's okay. So then you would simply put in the API, and you're going to be able to do this with Chime, right? Which is exciting. So you simply put in the API. I'm getting a little feedback there.
That might be on my end. My bad.
No, you're good. And then you hit next, and we already have options or like settings of what the integration is going to do. So you really don't have to mess with anything. Now we can customize them a little bit with some certain settings depending on what you want to do. And you can come into the different options on both sides. This one's pretty straightforward. And then you just hit activate. It's really that simple. So we've made it very, very user-friendly to where you can have tons of tech experience and knowledge or very little and still come in here and be able to get this set up. And the nice thing too is we've made instructions. So you can jump in here and get the instructions in order to get the setup
yeah,
done.
I mean, it's point and click, is it not?
Point and click. It is. So we're very excited to have Chime on this dashboard for you Chime users to create some bridges for you, some of these different applications, and to get you on the board. And this is our coming soon section. And what's nice is once you become a user, a lot of times our users come to us and they want to customize things and or they want to add another connector, and there's always room for growth, and we're constantly building new connections to different applications so that your all-in-one can start to build itself out, right?
Yeah, the beauty is with this, you get your all-in-one to use all of the services that you already know and love, right?
Yeah.
You know, there are different strokes for different folks. Not everyone uses the same transaction management, CRM for that matter, lead generation source. So when you are stuck to only working with the pieces of technology that integrate with whatever you're using now, you don't get that buffet of services that are out there today. So with a service like Real Sync, you can take the best of breed or the ones you know and love and use, and you can put them all together and you can build a high functioning version of your all-in-one, not a Frankenstein, not a patchwork type of program. This is going to be like the Voltron of your real estate technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, our integrations are very robust and customized. And so you're going to use ours for, a few of your major applications and obviously connecting to Chime. But then you may have to use Zapier for one, that's just like a lead channel, right? Which is okay to do too. We're not naive to the fact that there's other integration tools out there. But like that can be part of your whole package, right? You use Real Sync for some, you zap in from a lead flow, like from Lead Central from Facebook, you probably can just use a Zap to get the lead data in there. It's not a complicated integration. Real Sync's really the major bridge that creates these very complicated integrations and simplifies them for you so you can really get that good automation in your business. But there's going to be different things that you do, and you're going to create that all in one,
Talk to us a little bit about that side, because integration is such a vague word. You can have, not many people realize you can have a very surface level integration, or you can have a hugely complicated integration. So kind of talk to us about how Real Sync simplifies that.
Yeah. So for instance, like a simplified integration would be, like anyone opting into a form, you put in your name and your email and your phone number, and then that gets pushed into those matching fields in the CRM, right? And that's a very, simple integration that a lot of different tools out there could do. With Real Sync, a more complicated integration would be, well, when I apply this tag on my contact record, I want it to trigger this action in this other application, right? Or when I move this lead status from hot to pending, I want this to trigger something in a different application. That is more custom mapping. And the reason that's more complicated is because it's not called the same thing in that other app, right? And so we're taking some actions or activities, or if I make this phone call, I want that to trigger something, or an email, I want that to trigger something, that activity, right? Or if I create a deal within Chime, right? Or a transaction within Chime, I'm not sure what you guys call it, but all of a sudden that triggers maybe a loop and dot loop, and it pulls all the data in. And then that starts a process based on a certain status. So there's levels of, you know, where it gets deeper and deeper and deeper on what you do within your CRM and how it triggers different actions in a different application. And, you know, that's what we specialize in as Real Sync, is those more customized applications.
Yeah. Let me put it another way. Does anyone think people who can speak multiple languages are super smart and really cool? Is that like just me? Like,
I do.
If you're
I'm always jealous. I'm like, man, you grew up and you like know 5 languages. I'm like, oh my God, I barely can speak English.
If you're bilingual, whatever, like, to me, you're on the next level of intelligence, and like, good for you. What y'all need to hear from what he just said is Real Sync takes the Spanish that Chime may be speaking and translates it into the German that dot loop may be speaking, right? And he had a great point. We may call it a transaction, and dot loop calls it a loop. That doesn't that's no small task, right? That is not simple, because if we told if dot loop said to us start a loop, Chime would say, you know, we don't understand, right? Yeah. Okay, pasa, like what? Like, yeah. You know, so Real Sync is that translator that takes the one language A speaks and turns it into the language that B speaks.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then to go back to the simplified version, if someone's putting in their name and email and phone number and into a lead form, that's the same language going into your CRM, right? And so that's where the differences are. Okay. So one cool thing that I wanted to show your users too, and hopefully they're still watching, is we have a really cool new product that's going to be available with Chime as well down the road here, and I'm gonna show you. And I know, Randy, you're like, oh my God, what's he talking about? I didn't prepare.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I didn't know about this. I'm excited.
No, so a lot of people don't know about it, but we're in the process of showcasing it. So what it is it's an extension into your Gmail, into your Google Chrome, and it's available on the Google Chrome store to download. Now, right now, it's not available with Chime yet because we're still in the process of finishing our partnership here, but it's coming soon, and it's very soon. I just found out some good information too, Randy, for your users. We've finished the code, I think, building the connector to you guys, and now we just gotta point your system to whatever applications we want to go to. So we're moving along, which is great.
That's awesome. That's great news.
So I'm gonna obviously, I hate to show you a different CRM, but it's okay.
It's a friendly.
It's okay, because it's going to be available with Chime as well, right? And I'm going to show your users real quick. So basically, what it is it's an extension, and you're going to be able to add a new contact right here, and it's going to pull the emails from the email. So if you're in your Gmail and you go, oh man, it's got a referral, I want to add a new contact to in the Chime, it's going to pull that email in. You add a name, and you can select the phone number, the phone type, the leads. It's going to pull in lead sources, lead type, all that stuff from your Chime, and allow you to drop it right in as a new contact record.
God, how great is that?
Yeah,
it makes your life so easy.
Yeah, it's so easy. And then once you create the new contact, we're going to show you here. what you can do is you can change, this is a buyer, you can change the lead status, add the tag, add a note, create a task, update a task, complete a task. There is also, this is an older draft, which we need to update. I'm still waiting on a new demo. It looks a lot slicker. But you also can save the email, and I'm not sure if that's something that Chime already does or not, but it's going to be available to you. And then you can do a click to call. So it'll pull your default phone system from your Chrome. And then also you can jump right to the contact record from the extension. So a lot of we found, Randy, a lot of people get stuck in their Gmail, and I do. And
sure.
Right. And here's another example I can show you. This would be, let me jump to a different context. So I use HubSpot, and if I jump here, or I jump into an email here, let's say with this guy, it's going to pull up his contact record here. I can open it up in CRM. This is very similar to what it looks like now. This is through HubSpot, but you can add information, company info. They have deals here, tasks, timeline, tickets. They have a bunch of different stuff, actions you can call. So it's very similar to this extension as well.
I mean, that's really powerful.
Yeah.
Even if you have every solution you can go there, bouncing back and forth is still not convenient, right? It's still difficult. So being able to pull in your Chime CRM into your email.
Right. So think of it, we're able to extend where Chime is to extend Chime directly into your Gmail, right? Which is super cool. So now you're using Chime in two different places.
Chime has become omnipotent or everywhere you go.
Yeah. So we're real excited to be able to add this as a feature as well. Obviously the integration is going to be the first step, and then this would be a second step, but it's on the roadmap, which is very exciting.
Yeah, no, that's really exciting. I think the productivity just goes through the roof, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We found it can save you up to 3 hours in time per week as an agent, just the toggling back and forth. It's crazy, but it does save you some time for sure. And then of course, think about how many times you're on a call or in your email, and you know you need to update something in the CRM, and then you forget, or you jump into another call, and next thing you know, the data didn't get put in. This is going to allow you, again, you're going to have Chime right in your email, which is going to allow you then to get that data into Chime a lot faster in real time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 3 hours a week, 150 hours a year. 150 hours a year. Well,
yeah.
What can you do with that? You can do a lot.
Hopefully you're more productive. Yeah. You create some more income, maybe a little golf in there, but mostly more income.
A little bit of income. They cancel each other out, so it's free golf.
Free golf, exactly. I love it.
That's walked away with from today.
Yes, that's, I mean, were we going to cover anything else? I mean, is there any additional questions you have, or I don't know if there's any questions that are live on the chat right now, but
if anyone has any questions, please do. Do you think, we talked a little bit about Gmail or your email, how that's a use case. Is there another use case on the other side of the transaction where you think might well?
Sorry, you cut out a little bit there, Randy.
Yeah, I think I was scrolling through Atlanta. So that's killing it now.
So you said transaction.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about how it's the use case of having your CRM and your transaction management talk hand in hand.
Yeah. So for some of our clients right now, they weave in Sisu as the intermediary because of the data collection they can get in the dashboards and the KPIs and stuff. So we've wired or connected sky slope and dot loop into Sisu, and it kind of does this loop in a sense. But being able to, I mean, think about the time you can save your admin, right? If you normally create a loop and it's a separate system, let's say with dot loop, once a contract is, once you have a contract, right, whether it's on the seller or buy side and you're in contract, that's when you create the loop. Imagine if that happened automatically because you moved that contact record from hot to pending. And then all of a sudden, all of the data points that you have in Chime push into the loop and create a loop and pull in the property address, dates, potentially commissions, right? The amount the property is going to cost is under contract for, all the agent information, all the borrower information, the seller information, like everything that you normally have to type out in that loop is populated automatically. So talk about saving your admin time. If you're a small team, obviously it's not the end of the world, but if your admin's having to do that and that's half their job is creating those loops because you guys are doing 30 transactions a month, well, think about the time you just saved, and you can dedicate that administrator's time to doing something else, right? And you allow the automation, you allow the integration and all that to do the work for you. And the data, like we talked about, Randy, earlier, is going to be much more accurate. There's not going to be that human error element.
I think this is the best example of wanting to avoid human error. You mentioned commission. Imagine if the decimal was one place to the left, and suddenly you're making 10% of what you thought you did, right? That's human error, guys. So when you replace that with Real Sync, technology doesn't make that error.
No.
And then let's fast forward.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like data, obviously there's always the element of like your data has to get into one system, right? So don't mess it up when you're putting into Chime, but ideally that's the only place you have to put it in. And then everywhere else, we're just like, we can't mess it up. Right. Right. Once it's in accurately, we're just moving the data and it's code. There's no human element anymore. It's robots. Like, they don't mess it up. Right.
And then let's fast forward 7 years, right? So you help somebody with this transaction, and in the 7-year period, this person most likely got a new job, or they've got new contact information, right? So rather than going and changing that email address for that past client of yours and your 7 or 13 different pieces of technology, you change it in chat, and suddenly it's changed everywhere else.
Absolutely. And then with your extension that you've had from your Gmail, you're getting any changes that have happened over time, or any notes or emails. Because what's the most frustrating thing, man, is when you go into a contact record and you had a follow-up scheduled from 3 or 4 months prior, and you have no idea where you left off because there's no good accurate data. The extension is going to make sure that all that's getting in there, so that when you do go to do that follow-up, right, or you go to reach out to your contact because you scheduled a follow-up, every year to reach out to them, and you have to make those updates, you're going to know where you're at and where you stand with that person, right? Because you're going to have all that data right there in your Chime activity feeds. Right?
I love it.
Yeah.
So let's do 2 things, Scott. Let's talk about how people can contact you and what pricing looks like.
Yeah. So what I would love is any users that are interested in integrating their Chime to reach out to me, Scott@realsync.com. Just reach out to me directly. And I would love to get you into our system, start building out a list of Chime users that are interested in integration. And that way, once we're live with our connection, that we can, I can reach back out and let people know what's available. Right. And then pricing is, it's $10 per user per month. Right. And obviously we're going to have some free beta periods with new users. So if you end up connecting Chime to one of the other applications that we're making available, we're going to have beta periods. So those are free. And there's no There's no startup costs. It just bills you the, let's say you come in with 10 users, we just bill you the $100. Now it does start to come down the pricing, right? It's a whole estimator, right? So you would be able to, I'll share my screen real quick one more time so you guys can see this. But basically, when you go to get started here, Chime's going to be on here, and you go, I want to connect Chime to Sisu. And you would click Chime. We'll say Conversion Monster to Follow-Up Boss, right? You put in your agents, 10, or let's say 20. It's a big team, 20 agents. You want to connect those two. I'm going to put in a fake email here. You hit get my price. And there you go. $9.50 a user. It gives you a price and everything you get, right?
I spent $10 at nuts yesterday. You can spend you can spend $10 a month to make sure it's running properly.
Yeah, and that's just for the first integration too, right? So all of a sudden, if you connect Chime to Loop and you have like 3 or 4, we don't keep adding an additional $10 user fee, right? It's an additional fee per sync, a small amount, but I'll tell you, when you compare it to the amount of productivity and the time that you're buying back, it's peanuts.
I mean, would you pay $10 a month to get 3 hours a week back?
Yeah.
Do you make $3.33 an hour?
$10 a month? God.
Yeah, I think.
And I get it. A lot of brokers are like, man, I got 1,000 agents, and they start, doing these big calculations in their head. But you gotta look at it from a standpoint of, you got to make sure that your agents are accountable too, right? It goes back to like leadership on your team, and if you're going to pay for something like this and get them automation, making sure that they're using the time that you're buying for them productively, because that's where you make the money in the long term, right? Is making sure that those agents, their workflow and their efficiency has increased, right? And that's what we want.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Scott, this was super helpful. You're either watching on our Chime business page or our user forum. I appreciate you taking some time to join us. Reach out to Scott at realsync.com. He's going to make sure all of your data is accurate.
Yeah,
Scott,
absolutely. And if you mention this webinar, again, obviously the beta is free, but I'm also going to give you an additional free month using the Chime connector once it's available. So just mention this webinar that you saw, either me or Randy, and we'll get you hooked up.
I love it. Yep.
Just say Chime. It's gonna be Chime is the promo code. I just made it up right now. Chime's the promo code.
Chime's a promo code. Chime's always the promo code. That's okay. Awesome. Scott, thanks so much again. You can always find Chime at chime.me. We'll talk to you next time.
See you guys.
See ya.